Hello everybody, before we start the video, I just want to give a quick thanks to my gracious and generous supporters over on Patreon, to Anime Guy 01, Bookworm, Danish Faye, and Tommy Koistinen. Thank you so much for your continued support, and if any of you want to support me as well on my Patreon account, there's a link to it in the description below. Now, enjoy the video! Hello everybody, it's JohnnyFerno talking. Welcome back to Pinkie Tales. This time I'm going to make sure that we are in the very beginning of this series. I'm not going to make the same mistake as last time. And I made sure this is the right one this time, and it is Applejack and the Beanstalk. So as was explained, we found out last time, Pinkie Tales is pretty much taking classic fairy tales and then put a spin on it due to crazy characters reading them. In this case, primarily it's going to be Pinkie. So this is going to be the first one. I still can't believe I messed up the chronological order that badly, but people have told me that I was lucky that I did take the Discord one to start with, because apparently if I had taken any other, I would have been lost. But anyway, let us watch the first one of the Pinkie Tales, which is Applejack and the Beanstalk. I'm very excited because, as I found out last time, these things are of high production, like great voice acting, great narration, great humor, great jokes, many of them which I'm probably going to speak over whenever I say my thoughts. So sorry when I do that, but I have to react. This is what I do. So if you're ready, my dear friends, let's watch Pinkie Tales, Applejack and the Beanstalk. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Pinkie Tales. Applejack and the Beanstalk.
This was recorded back in 2015. That shows you how long this thing has been going.
Hey there, Poundin' Pumpkin. Are you superly duper excited for your bedtime story tonight?
Oh,
It's a good one. It's all about this pony and this plant and this huge... Well, I'll just get to it.
You can hear it on the mic quality as well.
Once upon a time.
If you listen...
In a kingdom far away,
Oh,
there
God.
lived a poor farmer named Applejack. Although
Is it just
her
me,
name
or do
would
they
lead you
sound
to
really
believe that
young?
she harvested
Oh, not really,
apples,
just...
it was
It's so
a
funny, I can
common
hear the difference
misconception.
between then and today.
Misconception is quite a big word. You could just say incorrect. That's a big word too. Mistake? Bobo?
Thank you, Pinkie. Applejack and her mother, Mrs. Sparkle, were in fact cotton farmers.
Alright?
And as every pony
And I'll
knows,
focus on the thing.
clothing for ponies is an unnecessary luxury, especially in hard times like these. Therefore, they were suffering financially.
Why don't you just say that they needed beds?
That's what it means, Pinkie.
That is what it means.
Oh, carry on then.
Just...
Times were so
Let her talk.
hard, in fact, that Mrs. Sparkle and her daughter only had one last thing to their name, a cow named Rainbow Vine.
I get it!
Rainbow Vine.
Bovine is another word for a cow, and it's rainbow dash.
On
Oh,
the day that Mrs. Sparkle and her
I'm
daughter
happy.
had finished the
I'm
last
so
of
happy.
their bread, she turned to her daughter and said,
You must go into town and sell our cow for some bits, or we will surely starve.
Our cow? You mean Rainbow?
Oh, no!
Don't dawdle, Applejack,
God
and
damn
don't
it.
stop for anything on your way. Accept no less than 10 bits for her.
So with Rainbow Vine in tow, Applejack made her way along the worn path towards town.
Moo!
So is that all you can say then?
Moo?
Well, howdy there, and hello to you, fellow traveler.
Oh
A
dear, of
smooth-talking
course they would
sales
have this
pony
role.
And his brother said, approaching Applejack with friendly yet somehow still sinister smiles.
Yeah.
Let me guess. You're interested in the cow.
Mighty fine beast you got there. If you're looking to sell, I'm sure we could take it off your hooves for, say, 5 bits.
5 bits? Aren't you supposed to be tricking me into selling her for some magic beans?
Magic beans?
One of the brothers said. then turned to the other.
Yeah,
Why, of course we have ourselves some magic.
that is how the story goes,
Magic to
after
its
all.
finest.
The other brother agreed.
Of course, these here are precious beans, and we wouldn't part with them for just anything.
Do we gotta trade or what?
Deal.
Really?
What?
I mean, no!
Before another word could be said, the pair of ponies had vanished with Rainbow Vine, leaving
Okay,
poor
that was
foolish
weird.
Applejack with
Applejack
three
went for the
lousy,
beans, not
ordinary
them.
beans.
Huh.
They're supposed to be magic beans.
Yes, of course, Pinkie.
Of course.
Three
Magic
lousy and magical
beans.
beans.
Magical.
Better.
Purely.
When Applejack proudly presented the beans to her mother, however, Mrs. Sparkle was far less than pleased.
Beans? Beans? I sent you into town for bits, not beans. We cannot live on 3 beans, Applejack. What were you thinking?
Yeah.
I'm just doing what's supposed to be done, and I know for a fact this story has the cow traded for beans.
Worthless.
Mrs. Sparkle exclaimed, tossing the beans from her hook.
AJ, are
into
you
the
breaking the
dry
fourth
metal
wall?
yard
I thought it
just
was Pinkie's
outside the
job.
window.
Well, maybe you could use your alicorn magic to make them into magic beans.
I don't know what you're talking about. There's no such thing as magic beans. End of story. Now off to bed with you. I will have to come up with another plan to get food in this house.
What Mrs.
that-
Sparkle
that
didn't
is
know
true.
was
The
that
Pinkie Tales
beans
panel
she had
Broncon said that
unknowingly
I was
planted
explained
were in
that Applejack
fact
is like
magical, and
one
by
of the
full moon's
maybe the
light,
only one
they
who's
took
aware
root
that she's in the
hard
story.
soil and sprung up into a beanstalk that
Oh, dear.
soared into the sky.
There we
and
go.
Pierced through clouds.
I wonder who's going to be the giant.
When morning finally came, Applejack and her mother gazed in awe at the beanstalk, letting their imaginations run wild with the possibilities of where it would lead.
Yep. Into the
Maybe
clouds.
I should climb it.
Are you sure, Applejack? It looks rather dangerous.
Dangerous? How is this dangerous? There's a spiral ramp conveniently wrapped around the beanstalk leading all
Yep.
the way up.
Please be
Very
careful,
convenient.
my daughter.
Mrs. Sparkle said, embracing Applejack one final time before Applejack began the climb.
Honestly, the least these storytellers could do is write in a proper challenge. What, do they think I can't climb a beanstalk on my own?
Applejack
Maybe
granted,
it's more because,
just
like, how
before
high
she
it is.
broke through the cloud cover.
high?
Well, that was fast.
Huh.
Applejack added,
I
taking
don't
a
remember how
look
long it took
around,
in the original
and
story.
discovered an entire world above the clouds that no pony would have ever dreamed.
Wait, am I expected to walk on this here cloud? I'm still just an earth pony, you know. Can't do that
She hasn't
sort of
got her
thing
wings
without
yet.
Twilight's magic.
Yet.
Oh well.
Applejack took a wary step onto the cloud and found, much to her surprise, that it was firm as solid ground. She wandered away from the beanstalk and took note of the strange plants, which seemed far larger than those
is
back in
Pinkie going to be
Equestria.
the giant?
Even the blades of grass could tower over her in some places. After wandering for a few minutes, Applejack came upon a giant building, and her eyes widened as she beheld
Jesus.
it.
Bakery? It's
Yes.
a giant bakery.
It's Pinkie.
Gee, I wonder who could possibly live in a giant bakery in the sky.
Quiet now,
Still,
AJ.
she knew that bakeries had all manner of wonderful
Let's
things
pretend to be
eat,
surprised,
and that
okay?
perhaps this was the answer to all of her problems. Without so much as a knock,
That's a giant fruit
Applejack
punch.
easily slipped
Cake.
under the giant bakery's
So much
door
cake.
and craned her neck up to see shelves upon shelves
Look at
of
those.
wonderful things to eat. There were pastries, creams, pies, cakes, donuts, and loaves of delicious bread for as far as she could see. The only problem was that each of these delectable goodies were too high to reach and too heavy to lift and
Yeah.
bring back home. While she pondered her predicament, Applejack could hear a faint tooting sound coming from somewhere on the table nearby. She wandered closer, the sound becoming progressively
What the hell?
louder as she did so. It reminded her of the sound of
That
a
tuba, though.
intermingled with the sobs of a pony.
Oh, wait, no trombone. That's a
When
trombone.
she reached one of the legs of the table, she paused.
Oh,
Toot,
look!
toot.
Another conveniently placed spiral ramp leading from the floor to the table. How totally unexpected.
Applejack
would be a
climbed
great
the leg of
critic.
the table, and once she reached
Maybe
the
a bit of
top,
a harsh one.
she saw an array of wonderful sugary things to eat. There were jellies as tall as buildings, and pies as wide as farmland, cakes as deep as
Jesus.
ravines, and all manner of candies, scattered about in a chaotic fashion.
Look
She
at
was
it.
so overtaken by the sight that she nearly forgot the reason she had climbed in the first place. It wasn't until she heard another loud and out-of-tune tuba toot that she continued
is
her pursuit
tuba.
of the sound. When she turned the
Ah!
corner, Applejack saw what she believed was just a regular tuba slumped against
I
a piece
don't
of
remember this
blueberry
from the
pie.
story.
What she didn't realize was that the tuba itself was moving and sobbing as it made its off-key noises.
What?
Everything all right there, miss?
Toot! Oh, don't start me like that, darling. I hate tooting in front of guests.
Ever had a fear toot?
Are you supposed to be a magical talking tuba?
Yes. Oh, woe is me. Toot!
I thought you were supposed to be a harp.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't
The
it
story was a harp.
magical singing harp?
Where's the goose?
A harp! Oh, I wish it were so, darling. Toot! But instead, I am stuck as a dreadful tuba making all kinds of terrible toot noises. Oh, but where are my manners?
God damn it.
Hello there, young traveler. I am Raritoot.
Really?
Yes, really.
Really?
And I am dreadful.
Raritoot.
Well, go on. Ask me why I'm sorrowful.
That's
Why
so
are you
rarity.
sorry?
Because I am a captive in this dreadful place, forced to play music, party music, for the wicked giant's many parties. Toot! I would rather be playing
Why is that
classical
so
music
funny
and
to
sounding
me?
as light as a
Why?
lute. But no, I am stuck playing such tunes as Every Pony Dance Now and the tuba rendition of the Macarena.
Raritoot
Is that even
cried,
possible?
And with each sob, she let out another dreadful tooting sound. Applejack winced at the sound and covered her ears. At this point,
Yes.
she would say anything to make the awful noises stop.
Well, how's about I help you escape then?
You would do that for me? Oh, how wonderful! Toot! We will become the best of friends, you and I. Perhaps you could learn to play the violin or the cello, and then we could perform concerts together and...
Whoa now, wait just a minute. I said I'd help you escape.
Yeah,
I
exactly,
never
like-
said you could come home with me.
But I have
No pun
nowhere else
intended.
to go.
Hold your horses.
Oh, Toot, Toot. Oh, Toot. You simply must take me with you.
God damn it.
I don't
Let's
know.
certainly hope that Applejack won't
I'd be
blow
sure
this
to make
one.
it worth your while, darling.
Take that
And
as you will.
how's that?
I know of a magical tree that the giant keeps, which bears fruit of the golden apple. Each one 24
Oh, the
carats
goose is a
at
tree.
least. They're mighty delicious, darling, if used the right way. Toot. Though I suppose they could be sold for profit, too, if you so desired.
Golden apples! So that's why I've been led here. Show me the way, Rary.
Apples.
Toot.
And then I can come with you?
It's a snack
Sure,
apple.
sure, why not? I can shove the golden apples in my ears to drown out the tootin'.
Oh, this is positively marvelous! Ah, toot, 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 toot.
Could you try not to do that, please?
God damn.
best.
Why is
But
why
I
is the
am a
tooting
tuba
so funny
after
to me?
all.
I have
It's
no
in my
idea
nature.
why.
Follow me then. Oh, and don't eat any of the food or there will be drastic consequences.
Ooh.
What kind of consequences?
Let us hope you don't find out. Come along!
Applejack followed after Raritoot. Her interest had
Raritoot.
certainly been piqued. Why would
How did
taking
they
a
come
bite
up
of
with this
food
stuff?
be so wrong? At first, it was an easy request to follow, but with each new delicious treat after
Those things
another,
look like giant
they became
danishes,
more
and I would
more
love
tempting.
one.
It seemed to Applejack that each new dessert was better than the last, and her stomach grumbled each time she avoided taking a bite. She hadn't eaten since the day before, and even then it was a meager meal at best.
God damn it, now I'm getting hungry.
Still, Applejack did as Raritoot had advised, until she caught sight of the most amazing dessert she had ever
A
seen
giant
and
apple pie?
smelled.
What is that?
Why, it's a golden apple pie, of course.
Of
Made
course.
from the apples of the tree we are seeking.
Golden.
Apple pie.
Applejack trailed off, her hooves
Golden
unconsciously
apples.
walking closer to it.
Here we are, darling. The
Trying
tree is
so
just around
hard
the
not to
corner.
say the phrase.
Wait, what are you doing? Toot!
Raritoot screamed with a
Toot!
loud toot of distress.
A
Applejack
toot of
had wandered
distress.
over to the pie, her eyes transfixed on its golden filling. Her mouth watered, and her stomach grumbled loudly.
Oh dear.
And though
If I
she
met,
could hear
if I saw some
Raritoot's
giant
annoying
ass danishes,
and loud
I don't think I
warnings
would be able
not
to hold myself.
Applejack leaned in and took a bite. It was the most amazing pie she had ever tasted, and she buried her face into the pie for another bite. Without missing a beat, the giant door burst open, scaring Applejack so
Right when I
much
drink.
that she leaped into the golden pie to hide.
Oh, goodness.
Standing at the door with a large grin on her face was none other than Pinkie the giant.
Fee-fi-diddly-dum-doo-bum.
Fee-fi-fo-fum.
Dare steal a bite from my tasty pastry.
Pinkie the giant bounced from the door to the table,
That's the
causing
most
the room to quake as if the
most
earth
intimidating
itself was
bouncing
moving.
ever.
Raritoot screamed with a toot and ducked behind a large piece of cake, while Applejack struggled to keep her hat on her head.
Why is that so
as the
funny to
golden
me?
apple pie bounced up and down on the tabletop.
All clear here.
Pinkie the giant said,
Oh,
as she
goodness.
inspected a cupcake on the opposite end of the table.
Nothing wrong here.
Pinkie looks
Over
kind of cute
here.
as a giant.
She examined each pastry, picking up one at a time, looking for any little missing pieces or nibbles. Applejack frantically poked her head out of the pie and looked for a new hiding place. She saw Raritoot giving her a nasty glare, and then she noticed the tree that she had been searching for.
Oh.
It was no more than 50 yards from the pie, with a yellow trunk and light pink leaves,
Ooh.
and on each of the many branches
Wait.
hung a bright golden apple.
It's a flooded tree.
Although
God
the
damn
room was
it.
shaking with every bounce from the giant, Applejack could have sworn she saw the tree shaking in fear all on its own.
Ah, my prized pie.
Pinkie exclaimed,
Oh my, I
pulling the
wonder how
golden
they did
apple
the
pie
artwork.
to her nose
Looks
to
good.
smell. Applejack shouted,
Whoa!
falling with a splat back into the pie.
What? My pie can talk?
Pinkie cried, dropping the pie onto the table and causing many other desserts to fall over.
Oh, say something else, oh magical deliciousness.
Applejack
My
coughed
goodness.
and popped her head out of the pie, gasping for air before she met the gaze of the rather disappointed giant.
Aw, you're not a talking pie at all. You're just a pie.
Very
thief.
astute, Pinkie. Very well
Pinkie the
seen.
giant said, reaching down with her hoof and scooping Applejack out of the pie. Applejack
Hi.
was barely able to grab her hat in time and cringed when she put its wet stickiness back on her head.
Who are
Damn.
you? And what do you want with my desserts?
You don't know who I am, Pinkie?
Of course I don't, Applejack. This is the first time I've ever seen you before.
But
Wink,
you just
wink.
Doesn't matter anyway. You have defiled my greatest work, and now you must pay. Tuba,
Yes, Miss Giant?
play me a tune. An old western kind of tune.
What?
Seeing this pony in a hat gives me a great idea.
An old western.
Before Applejack could wonder what Pinkie the giant could possibly be planning,
She
found herself in another corner of the
What?
bakery where a collection of pony-sized toys
The
strewed
classic
about the
white,
countertop.
the white
Within a
cowboy hat and
flash,
such.
Applejack was redressed in cow pony boots, a white hat, and a vest where a cheap but golden sheriff star was pinned. While Applejack
You are
tried to figure out
sheriff.
how she could be dressed so quickly, Pinkie the giant had set up an entire old western scene complete with shops,
What the hell?
desert sand, and an old railroad track.
What's this here setup all about?
Applejack asked, attempting to take her hat off. Of course, Pinkie the giant was having none of that. She readjusted the hat on Applejack's head. She picked up a little purple alicorn toy dressed in a similar designed black outfit and a crudely drawn black mustache.
Ha ha ha! We meet again, Sheriff Applebottom. You can never stop
Sheriff
me or my
Applebottom, okay. Yep.
Evil plan!
Are
My
we
nefarious
really
deeds.
doing this, Pinkie?
Quiet! Don't you want to know what my plan is?
What nefarious plan have you concocted, Pinkie?
Pinkie? Who is this Pinkie? I am Midnight Moonshine, the
Midnight
unwanted
Moonshine.
outlaw.
Moonshine? You do realize that's another name for...
Ah, help me,
I just got it as well.
Sheriff Applebottom.
It's a PG.
Pinkie said, speaking for a different toy on the playset. This was a white unicorn mare with a deep purple mane that was tied crudely to the train track with a piece of giant yarn.
Ha ha ha! Save her if you can, Applebottom! And while you do, I will rob the cookie bank! No pony can stop me!
So where's the train?
Applejack looked from Pinkie to the toys that were roughly her size.
Yeah.
I don't have time for this.
Pinkie lowered her head and rested it on the table, looking Applejack in the eye, glaring darkly.
Oh.
What did you say?
I said, fret not, miss.
Jesus!
Oh, so we're
Pinkie
not
was actually
changing her
scary
name
there
then?
for a moment.
Nothing else fit right.
From across the way, Raritoot made an unimpressed tooting sound.
Toot.
Miss Rarity, then. I shall save you.
Applejack sauntered towards the Rarity doll. It too was dressed for the part, wearing a red frilly gown and a hat that she was sure that
Jesus.
real Rarity would never dare to wear. She bit down on the yarn and pulled, wondering what the catch was. That was, of course, when Applejack caught sight
Toot,
of a toy
toot.
train heading her way.
Hurry, Miss Applebottom.
Miss Applebottom.
Hurry. Hurry. Hurry.
Concerning, I'm doing my best.
Pinkie screamed in place of the Rarity doll. Just as Applejack pulled it free, the toy train sped by and straight off the counter, landing with a crash on the unforgiving ground below. This did not seem
there
to
goes another
deter
train.
Pinkie as she cheered for the doll.
Oh, Applebottom, you're my hero.
I sure am, Pink. Rarity. Are
Oh.
we, done now?
Done? We've only just begun.
Oh god, how many
Pinkie
other...
the Giant exclaimed,
Oh dear.
motioning to the cupboard
You're
behind
gonna
her
play
to show Applejack the
forever.
many hundreds of outfits and playsets she had stored away for playtime.
Alright.
The pit of Applejack's stomach dropped, and her eyes widened, imagining the horrors that were to come.
Oh dear.
But I do have to take an teensy-weensy break to finish baking all the goodies for the party.
What party?
Giant Gummy's cake must be perfect.
Oh, wait.
Pinkie the Giant said,
How big would
swooping
Gummy
Applejack
be?
up with one swipe of her hoof.
I don't want to imagine that.
She hummed merrily to herself as she placed Applejack on the shelf in the play cupboard, as if she were now one of the many toys Pinkie had collected.
Oh god.
As Pinkie closed
Maybe
the
that's
cupboard
where the
door,
other toys came from.
Applejack quickly pushed her hat in the way of the lock. Pinkie the Giant turned the key and bounced away, assuming that she had successfully locked Applejack inside. From the table below,
Seriously, imagine that
Raritoot
bouncing
caught sight
noise
of Applejack's
from
trick
like miles away.
and
Just
intended to use her music to aid in her escape. She turned her attention to Pinkie the Giant, tooting as she hobbled towards her.
Might I play you a tune while you cook your delicacies?
Oh, a happy working song?
No, Pinkie. Disney claimed the rights to that one.
Aw.
Aww.
No high hos?
Perhaps
Damn it.
something soothing.
Raritoot offered, trying her best to play a tune to lull the giant to sleep, a hard task to do when you're a tuba. Of
The
course,
tubas can be
as it is with
surprisingly
these sorts of
soothing.
fairy tales, Pinkie the Giant was helpless to Raritoot's song. She set down her giant baking sheet of cookies and rested her head on the
I'm
table.
very happy that they chose
After a
tuba.
few minutes of silence,
They don't get enough
Applejack
love.
could hear her soft snores. She struggled a little at first to pull her hat free, then bucked the wood of the door to open it. Being careful not to make a sound, Applejack leapt from the cupboard and
Trying
onto
hard
the
not to make a
countertop,
sound.
securing her hat back onto her head. She looked to the door and almost ran to safety
Trying to.
when she
You know
remembered
what I
the
mean.
delicious golden apples. She thought perhaps if the giant slept long enough, she could take the tree
I
for
wonder
herself.
what music they
Whoa,
play.
whoa, hang on a sec.
What?
Applejack wouldn't steal.
Pinkie, you're supposed to be asleep.
Oh, right.
Applejack crept along
It's
the
the story,
countertop,
Pinkie.
hopping
Remember.
from saucepan to baking sheet, making her way
Eh,
back towards
they're
the
actually gonna
table.
tell me that Applejack isn't
At
supposed to
long
lie.
last, she
And there's the
reached
flutter
golden
tree.
apple tree, marveling at the delicious fruit that it grew.
Maybe I could have just one.
Applejack
Is
said,
the tree going to talk?
turning around to buck the bark of the tree and cause an apple to fall.
Oh, if you don't mind,
There we
I
go.
rather you didn't do that.
Fluttershy, are you a tree?
The,
Who is Fluttershy?
the tree leaves are even shaped like
you-
her mane.
Well, then, who are you?
I'm Fluttertree.
Of course. Of course you're called Fluttertree.
Oh.
Alright, I'll play along. Fluttertree, would you be so kind as to allow me to take you home with me?
Oh, I don't know.
I already
It's
made
not
all my
very
3
nice.
puns in the last
mean,
video. I
don't
don't want to
like it
repeat
here,
them.
But it would be so sad if the giant woke up and her tree was missing.
Oh goodness.
What does Fluttertree want?
Well, will there be little animals where you live?
Oh yeah.
I live on a farm. Little critters are always wandering about.
Oh, like little pigs and cows and chickens? Maybe even some songbirds and squirrels.
Aw.
Something like that. So, what do you say?
Oh, alright. I'll come with you.
I can actually imagine Flutter Tree
How do
being
you
like this.
expect to carry me away all on your own?
I figured I'd use the conveniently placed wagon about 10 feet from where I'm standing.
Applejack said, tilting her head to the
Convenience.
side to indicate to the little red
That's going to
wagon
be the
waiting
catchphrase
behind
of these
Fluttertree.
fairy tales.
I guess all them ramps make sense now. Can't wheel you out of here without them.
Applejack pushed Fluttertree towards the wagon, and then used every ounce of her strength to lift it into place. As she strained and groaned under the weight of the tree, one of the golden apples shook loose and plopped right onto her head.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Applejack merely shook her head and picked up the apple that had fallen. She rubbed it on her vest before taking a mouth-watering
They're
bite.
gonna be the fruits of her labor. There, I said it.
We're gonna be the talk of the town once I get these here apples home. No pony will be able to resist them, and our money troubles will be over.
Applejack declared, finishing the apple with a satisfied smirk. She took the handle of the wagon in her mouth and carefully pulled it along the tabletop as far from the sleeping giant as she could. From the corner of her eye, Raritoot could see Applejack and Fluttertree nearing the edge of the table, where the ramp around the leg would take them safely down. She gasped in horror, thinking that Applejack had forgotten her promise to take her along. She hurried across the table towards them, each hop making a toot sound. The more frantically she hopped, the louder and off-key the toots became.
Shh! Shh! Can't you keep that racket down?
You forgot me? Toot! After all I've done for you, and you were just going to leave me here?
Shh! I was not! I was gonna get this here tree to the floor first and then come back for you, I swear!
A likely story. Toot! You didn't even want to go with me in the first place. Why would you want a useless, ugly old tuba lying around the house?
You're not useless.
Please, Raritoot, you have to keep it down. The giant might wake up and...
It's always about that silly old tree, isn't it? Toot! Oh, these apples are so delicious. What an amazing tree. Such a magical wonder. I bet it's the rarest fruit ever grown.
Raritoot!
No!
God damn it.
Raritoot shouted,
Oh dear.
letting out a loud toot as she did so. Applejack put a hoof to her face and closed her eyes as she heard the unwelcome sound of the giant waking up.
Okay.
Never ordered that bungee jumping equipment.
What?
I mean, what's going on here? Hey, where's my tuba? My golden apple tree.
Ugh, sorry.
Run!
Applejack shouted, wheeling Fluttertree down the leg of the table and towards the door.
Wait for me.
Raritoot objected, bumping into a large cupcake as she pursued Applejack. The cupcake teetered on the edge of the table
God.
before landing with a splat mere inches from Fluttertree. Applejack smeared some of the splattered frosting from her face with disdain before continuing towards the opened door.
You left the door open?
Yes, Pinkie, it's called a plot device.
Well, that wasn't very smart of me. Applejack might get away with my stuff.
That's the point.
That's the
Pinkie.
story, Pinkie.
Oh. Okay, you can continue.
Fairy tales are weird
Pinkie
that
the
way.
giant listened for the toots of her tuba until she spotted
Goddamn,
them
I-
making their exit.
That's toot.
She growled and raced for the door ahead of them. Before she could make it, however, Pinkie stepped down on the fallen cupcake and slid from one end of the room to the other,
Like a freaking
colliding into a
cartoon.
wall.
Yeah, at the end of the story, the giant falls down and dies. So...
Applejack, Raritoot, and Fluttertree made their way outside
it.
towards the beanstalk. Pinkie the giant was on their tail, and Raritoot screamed a toot so loudly in panic that Applejack's ears went flat against her head.
Dude, could you stop that? We're trying to make our escape here.
Get back here, thief! Even if it is uncharacteristic that you would be stealing anything, we're going to ignore that for story purposes!
Pinkie the giant shouted
God
after
damn,
them.
she's just doing her role.
Applejack bucked Raritoot up into the wagon, alongside Fluttertree,
Hey,
then got behind the wagon
expect me
and
to
pushed
believe
it.
that Rainbow Dash cannot be loyal.
Hang on, Miss Tuba. We're in for a ride.
Applejack said, pushing the wagon onto the beanstalk and then hopping into it herself. With a loud
Yeehaw!
Oh,
three
that's
of them
fun.
rolled down
And
the
incredibly
beanstalk
dangerous. There's no
ramp,
railing.
Raritut screaming the entire way down. Mrs. Sparkle had waited half the day for her daughter to return. She looked up
Half
at
a
the
day.
beanstalk curiously when she heard a strange sound of a screaming tuba. Much to her
Toot,
surprise,
toot, toot, toot.
Applejack and her two new companions rolled off the beanstalk, missing the house to land in the dead cotton fields.
Twilight, the axe, quick!
From the clouds above, Pinkie the Giant waited at the top of the beanstalk and watched Applejack make her descent. Hold on.
Wait, what? Why are you
Why are
sitting?
you waiting, Pinkie?
Why are you waiting?
Shouldn't you be pursuing them?
Yeah, you should be chasing
Oh,
them.
that would be silly. I'm a giant and I could have caught up to them in 2 bounces. Not to mention I could climb down much faster than a rolling wagon before she even had a chance to find an axe.
So you're just going to wait here for her?
Yeah.
Yep. It's a pretty big plot hole in the original story if you ask me.
Once Applejack's axe
good
began
point, I
chipping away
guess.
at the beanstalk, Pinkie the Giant resumed her chase, sliding down the beanstalk like it was a fire pony pole.
And it's about this
Before
point.
she could reach the ground, however, Applejack's axe had cut clean into the beanstalk and the entire plant toppled to the
Editing.
ground. Pinkie the
10 out
Giant
of
was
10
a few feet from the
screaming.
ground when she suddenly stopped in midair and righted herself, landing softly on her hooves.
Wait, what?
I'm like a cat, always landing on my paws. Hooves.
Alright.
Except you slipped on a cupcake 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that.
Once on the ground, Pinkie the Giant spotted the only living creature in sight.
I'm.
It was a brightly colored cow with rainbow hair. She shook on her hooves when she looked up at the giant, too shocked to run.
Oh my goodness! It's a rainbow vine! I bet I can get her to milk me rainbow milk too! Bet I can make rainbow
Rainbow
butter,
milk.
rainbow cake, rainbow pudding.
Huh.
Pinkie the Giant leaned down and swooped up the cow.
Who needs some crummy old golden apples anyway? This is so much better!
Pinkie the Giant grabbed a tuft of cloud passing
Oh,
by
if only she
and
knew.
fashioned it into a flight of stairs. She hummed a merry tune to herself as she bounced back up to her home in the sky,
Huh.
drowning out the frantic mooing of Rainbow Vine as she went.
Moo! Moo!
Meow!
Meanwhile,
Well then.
Applejack and her
That's
mother
a different
delighted
ending.
in their new flutter tree, picking the golden apples that would magically appear once the fruit had been picked. With the seeds from the apples, they replanted their dead fields until an entire orchard of flutter trees sprang up from the ground.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Did I hit your branch? Oh, pardon me. I'm sorry. Could you take a few hops to the left, please? I'm sorry. You're resting on my Like that. Oh, look, a little blue jay. Where? Oh, these animals are so cute. Oh, he's
Oh
so
no,
cute.
it's.
Move a little, please. Oh, he's so adorable. Isn't it? Oh, pardon me. My bad. Look, how little these animals are so
Oh,
cute.
no.
Oh, sorry. Pardon me.
Oh, that. Oh, I don't know what this is. Amazing.
Raritut spent her time playing songs for Applejack and Mrs. Sparkle as they harvested their new crop, whether they liked it or not. And with the money they earned making golden apple products, they were finally able to pay off their debts and live a comfortable life.
Oh.
The end.
Yeah.
Good night, Pound. Good night, Pumpkin.
Oh.
Sweet dreams, my little ponies. And a good night to you too out there. Hope to see you next time for some more Pinkie Tales.
Well, it's lunchtime, so I won't be going to bed anytime soon, but. Alright! Aw. Rainbow Vine. Goodness. Ah. Was Shadow as Miss Sparkle? Of course it is. Of course it was Shadow. Sorry about that. Got a phone call from family, and that call took way longer than what I had originally thought it was going to. So, to try and pull back my thoughts together before this entire thing interrupted me, This was a very nice video. I know I talked over a bunch of stuff. I may have missed jokes or something like that, some story points. But the good thing about this sort of series is that I already know the base story, so it's just funny to see what kind of changes they've made to it. One of the most funniest things is that I'm not sure if it's because of the mic quality or anything like that, but compared to now, when I've heard like their mic qualities and their voices and everything like that, maybe it's just me, but they sound younger. It's just funny to like listen back in time. It was kind of like when I heard the first Lost Narrative bloopers and just heard how she sounded compared to now. It's like their VA skills, like of course they've gotten better with time, but even back then, those years ago, they were still good. It's so fun and weird at the same time. It's great. The changes to the story I found I like kind of expected because they couldn't really have the giant die, but I thought it all worked out well. But this, I'm happy to finally be at the very beginning, and I'm excited to watch the rest of it. So, yeah, and Magpie, if you're watching this video, I hope that you enjoyed my reaction. Because I enjoyed this a lot, and I cannot wait to see the rest. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching, my dear friends. Please tell me in the comments below what you thought about this video, my reaction, and my entire channel in general. Please have it both positive and negative, so I can use it all to grow and evolve into a better entertainer for you guys. But as always, my dear friends, thank you all so very much for watching. My name is JohnnyFerno, and I'll see you guys next time.